All right, so good morning. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of announcing the winner of the Atlantic Economic Journal Best Article Award. Goes to Drs. Prinz and Beck. And the title of the paper is Modern Monetary Theory, Solid Theoretical Foundation of Economic Policy. It appeared in the June 2021 issue of the Atlantic Economic Journal. Just as a bit of background, the AEJ Best Article Award Committee reviews all eligible papers, those with ratings of 25% or better, published in 2021. And the members of the review committee include the AEJ Board of Editors, as well as the IAES Endowment Fund sponsors. A sincere thank you to all those who participated in the review process. The award emphasizes the intellectual and scholarly approach to economic research, which has also always been a focal point of the Atlantic Economic Journal. And the authors will now present an overview of their paper. So I will stop sharing.
Then I would like to start the presentation. The title, you said, is Modern Monetary Theory, a Solid Theoretical Foundation of Economic Policy. And it is by me and Hanno Beck. And because we come from two different universities, I have two first slides. The first one for my university and this second one for the University of Hanno. And we are the authors of these papers. And to introduce ourselves, I'm a professor of economics and especially public economics at the University of Münster. Hanno Beck is a professor of economics at the University of Pforzheim in the southwest region of Germany. Münster is in the northern region of Germany, and so we are far away, but we are close friends and work together very often. Let's start. The allegations of modern monetary theory are really a challenge to ordinary economics, because they state, first of all, that all money is state money. Then they say that government expenditures cannot be financed by taxes or debt, but exclusively by newly created state money. The next point is that a country with its own currency, they say, cannot default. And in addition, and it is most surprising, a government has no budget constraint. And in addition, taxes are only tools to control inflation and to redistribute income and wealth. And last but not least, government expenditures determine national income. That are really stark arguments, which are in total contrast to economic theory as we know it. And to deconstruct this kind of thinking, we developed a very simple, very basic model where we tried to deconstruct the theory up to the very basic level, so to speak, and to show that there is nothing one could learn from this theory what one does not know from other theories. Let's start. For having a very, very simple model, we consider a closed economy with no investments. Then we apply an ordinary Keynesian or post-Keynesian consumption function, where consumption is dependent on disposable income and the money stock the households have from a previous period. Then the disposable income is given by the labor supply times the wage rate minus taxes, if there are taxes at all. And you see that this is a very simple economy because there is only one factor of production, and it's labor. That is intentionally so because we want to get rid of all kinds of problems with interest rates and so on, and come back to the very basic level of such an economy. Then we have only state money, and that means that the new creation of money by the government here is simply the difference between these two for money at the time t and money at time t minus 1, and that must equal the difference between government expenditures for goods and services and taxes. That means if there is a public deficit, it is completely monetized and financed by new created money. And then a consequence of this is that household savings must automatically equal the difference between the money stocks of the current period and the period before. And this change in the money holding of the households will be the savings. And even in addition to that, we have that the change of the money holdings of households must equal the newly created money for financing public goods. And then, since investments and savings are zero, so also this saving must be zero. And in addition, we have no additional new money in this economy because the savings must be of necessity zero. But nevertheless, for a stable economy, we have to have that the non-Ponzi condition is fulfilled. And that means, in the last analysis, that government expenditures are financed by a proportional tax on wage income. And therefore, the final result in the long-term equilibrium will be that the equilibrium income is equal to the government expenditures divided by T, the tax rate. Why? Because the tax rate times the equilibrium income gives the government expenditures. And so with this very, very simple model, we can derive several, we can interpret this with the following results. First of all, since modern monetary theory considers only outside money, state money, but not bank money, it is, in our opinion, a great jump back in time to Georg Friedrich Knapp's 1905 German book on state money, and on papers of Abba P. Lerner from the 1940s. There is nothing new about the monetary side of an economy. It is rather a great jump back in time by the authors of these modern monetary theory. The next point is this fiscal stance I just showed you is the same as for any neoclassical and Keynesian model. It is of necessarily true for all these kinds of models. And again, in this kind of MMT model, it is obvious that also governments face a budget constraint, because otherwise you will never get an equilibrium in this kind of an economy. Suppose that the tax rate is zero, then you can see if the tax rate goes to zero, then national income should go to infinity, which is not in any sense realistic, so to speak. And a model that predicts that you can drive the national income to infinity in this way must be wrong just from the start. The next point is that because that in this model, taxes are the crucial instruments to force the transfer of resources from the private sector to the state. There is no other instrument to do that. As we saw in this simple model, there is no new money created in effect later on, and to finance the public expenditures, the only means is taxation. And in this case, it is a simple wage tax that is applied here. And the last result is that obviously all economic subjects interact with each other, and this interaction determines the equilibrium national income. These are the first results, and then the modern monetary theory goes a step further and has a very special reading of this fiscal stance, where the national income must in equilibrium be equal to government expenditures divided by the tax rate. And the interpretation of MMT is that the national income is determined by the government via choosing the public expenditures and the tax rate. And they say that this is causal for the equilibrium income. But there are other readings of this equation which are of necessity either wrong or not even wrong. If you interpret it causally, they are all wrong. But if you don't take it very seriously, you can tell such things. But in academic economics, one should avoid this very strictly. The other interpretations could be that in this model, national income is determined by the autonomous part of consumption. Although this is not really wrong, but causally it is wrong, of course. Then the next possible interpretation is that national income is a result of aggregate demand in an economy. Of course, it's not really wrong, but if it is the only cause for this national income, it is wrong. And the next point is, you can also say that aggregate supply determines private and public consumption. You can say that, but in a causal sense, it cannot be correct. And the last possibility I see is that aggregate supply and aggregate demand are equal at the equilibrium national income. That's the definition of the equilibrium. Okay, now let's go to this misreading of the equilibrium condition. Again, the interpretation of this condition is by MMT. National income is determined by the government via choosing expenditures and the tax rate. But this argument is based on the circular flow model of a very, very simple economy. In this circular flow, it is obvious that you can have only circular causality. All expenditures or taxes and so on, they determine together the equilibrium. And you cannot say that there is one of these values or variables that is causal in such a sense for the equilibrium. And that means with a circular flow model, you cannot conclude on you cannot conclude causality, because all causality is of necessity circular. And I found by accident a very nice quotation by Fritz Machlup from 1963, and it is about the futility of identities for economic policy. And because it is exactly to the point, let me quote it verbally. Macro theorists have not always been careful and have repeatedly been misled into thinking they could deduce consequences from an ex post definition, for example, that they could deduce the effects of an increase in investment from the definitional equation y is equal to c plus I. This is logically impossible and therefore inadmissible in macroeconomic theory and micro theory. And that is the final point. MMT's policy recommendations are all based exactly on this, on the premise that that government expenditures, G, given a certain tax rate, determines causally the equilibrium income. And therefore, you can conclude the government can do anything it wants. It can guarantee an employment for each and every person. It can make a green policy as it likes, and there is no constraint for financing them because G determines Y in equilibrium. And that's not really, that does not really make sense. And that was our contribution, these two things. First of all, to construct a very simple, or the simplest model we could imagine for MMT, and to show that the claims cannot be correct. And therefore, I guess we really get it done to deconstruct this kind of theoretical thinking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hanno, did you have something you wanted to add?
Maybe only a small thing. What Aloys did not mention in his presentation is that we also crafted a second simple macroeconomic model, the most basic simple Keynesian macroeconomic model, and we were able to show that it is identical to the MMT model, so that there are no differences between the simplest MMT model and the simple Keynesian model, which we are teaching in macroeconomics Eco 101. So from this point of view, there's nothing new under the sun.
Great.
Not under MMT sun.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, if you want to stop share, I have something else I'd like to bring up to show you.
Okay. Oh, no. I have to. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. All right. So let me go ahead then and share screen. All right. So in front of you, you have a picture of the very lovely plaque that's going to be coming your way.
It's great.
Economic Journal Best Article Award, Aloys Prinz and Hanno Beck. It's the title of your talk and the date, October 2022. So very honored to be able to present the award to you. I wish we could have done it in person, but you know, Zoom is the next best thing. So anyway, congratulations. Very well-written paper and very well received.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciated this very much.
We are very honored by that, and we didn't expect this, and we were completely surprised in getting this award. Thank you again.
Thank you.